welcome to the Den. I am your humble but amazing host, Daswolfen. And today we're going to be discussing the Heisei era of Godzilla. Now, in my previous 3 Godzilla videos, I went over all the previous Showa era Godzillas, from Godzilla 54 all the way up to sorry, my brain just decided to shut down. You'd think I would know what the last Heisei era was, or the last Showa era, but yeah, my brain just forgot. Oh, Terror of Mechagodzilla. Duh. Anyway, so that's, 16 films that composed the Showa era. And when the Heisei era came along, they decided to basically, they wanted to bring Godzilla back, but they didn't want to continue the Showa era continuity. So this continuity picks up from the original film, and that's the only film that's canon in the Heisei era. And instead, what this is a second Godzilla that they're dealing with, instead of the first Godzilla or the reincarnation or whatever. Because I know in the Millennium era, it's the same way. They do their own continuity, except more of those films are more standalone. But they get they've got the background so that Godzilla, they didn't use the oxygen destroyer like they did in 54 to get rid of Godzilla. So it's the same Godzilla from 1954, just survived. But we'll talk about that when we get to the Millennium era. And of course, we'll talk about the not only the current Godzilla movies with Shin, the new one coming out in December, and the anime that they released, which are based in the future. And of course, we'll talk about the legendary MonsterVerse, because I absolutely love the MonsterVerse as a longtime Godzilla fan, and it gives me a lot of what I love about Godzilla. And it does it with today's special effects. And it's just like, what if they took... As much as I love the Guy in the Rubber Suit movies, okay, don't get me wrong, I will stop and watch those all day long. But it's really nice seeing the level of detail that they put into these legendary movies for the MonsterVerse. And so yeah, but I'll be covering that, and we'll discuss that later. Godzilla -1 comes out in December, and we should be ready to talk about that era of movies about that time. So hopefully I'll be able to do a review at the same time I'm doing covering the Heisei era, which is the current era. As I've stated before, all of the eras of movies are defined by the reign of the current Emperor of Japan. And this, the Showa era goes up until, was it 1984? No, it's 89. Now I'm going to have to look it up, because I don't want to tell you wrong. So give me just a second. Yeah, 89. From 26 to 89 under the Emperor Hirohito, who was the same emperor who oversaw the World War II in Japan. He's the longest reigning Japanese emperor from my memory, if I recall that correctly. But yeah, so that's a little background. So let's get into it. The first movie is oh, let me hit my button here. Oh, I don't have my button here. Oh, I don't have a button for that. I'm sorry. And yeah, I have a slideshow that hopefully is starting. Hey, Anima, welcome. I have an echo. Great. I don't know where to deal with it from. Oh, I seem to have two mics. That's weird. Let me... There, does that get rid of the echo? Anima? And Lady of the Elements, welcome, welcome. As you can see, this is a slideshow for the first movie in the series, which I should probably be talking about. And that is what is known in Japan as Return of Godzilla. But over here, we called it Godzilla 1985. And the difference is, just like the original Godzilla, they shot some additional footage with Raymond Burr, and that's how they tied it in. So it's edited. It's shorter by, I think, by like 15 minutes, and then they've got some additional footage, where basically where Raymond Burr's talking to people in the dubbed Japanese version that doesn't happen in the movie. But now the interesting thing about this, and this is, even though this is considered a Heisei era Godzilla movie, it was actually shot in the Showa era, because it was actually, it actually came out in '85. And that's still the Showa era. But because of the continuity, it is considered part of the Heisei era. So that's where that slight difference comes from. So, oh, thanks for coming by. Yeah, I know it's late for you over there. I assume you're doing a date night with Gary. So, at least that's oh, okay, well, sorry. Uh, I hopefully hopefully we'll see you tomorrow for my show. Because tomorrow I am doing Cyberpunk on Pop Culture Minefield. We are going further in the Phantom Liberty, or as I like to call it Cyberpunk Escape from New York. Uh, uh, on game day on Pop Culture Minefield, because it's basically Escape from New York. It's the plot from Escape from New York so far. I mean, come on, president's plane goes down in a unruly area of the country, which is what, ruled by a warlord. Whereas in Escape from New York, it's the Duke of New York, played by the amazing Isaac Hayes, who also did Chef in South Park. But I don't remember the leader's name in Dogtown. But there's a leader. I'm sure we'll deal with him at some point. But anyway, to go back to this, the story of this of Return of Godzilla. Well, before I get into the story, this was directed by Koji Hashimoto, who was a assistant director or second unit director on a lot of the earlier Showa era Godzilla movies. But this is his first actual Godzilla movie that he directs. And it's produced by Tomoyuki Tanaka, who is the producer and driver of a lot of Godzilla movies. In fact, I think he's all the way up to Godzilla Final Wars, the last of the Millennium movies, because I think we lost him in 2005, I think. No, 97. So that means he was director up until then. He did, and that's why there's in the Godzilla. I just had a brain fart. And 97, there's a dedication to him in one of a 19. Oh, okay, that's why I had a brain fart. The non-existent Godzilla movie, at least as far as I'm concerned, the Zilla 1988, that's not a Godzilla movie. That's an iguana movie. And they want to know what he's doing. He's going to New York, look for a flat rock and a heat lamp, because that's what iguanas do. You'll find I hate that movie. Sorry. But they did at least give him a dedication for it. But yeah, he was, Tomoyuki Tanaka was, he was an executive producer and a producer on a lot of Japan's science fiction and fantasy movies that we all love and enjoy. Now, the director, to go back to Koji Hashimoto, he died in 2000. We lost him. He's the one we lost in 2005. He also directed Sayonara Jupiter, which is, if you haven't seen it, it's a really nice space flick. Done. It's 84. Yeah, 84. Yeah, and he was also a writer, producer on a lot of stuff as well. So yeah, so he has been around the Godzilla lore for a long time, so it was in good hands. Some people don't consider the Heisei era top notch. I like it. It's not as good as Showa, and it's not as good as Millennium, but it's still better than the 1998 movie, which I will complain about all the time. So anyway, the story of this one. The ship encounters something, and it washes up on shore, and they find all the men gone except for I think they're gone or they're dead. Yeah, except for yeah, they're all dead, and their bodily fluids are sucked out like they've been drained by a vampire or something. And when they discover it, they get attacked by the reporter who was investigating it. Finds it and gets attacked by a giant sea louse, which is a giant version of a louse that fell off of Godzilla. So it's a parasite that was attached to Godzilla. I know that's disgusting, but they take pictures. They take him into the hospital. They keep him separated. They take pictures of Godzilla. And oh, and hello, Martine. Welcome. Glad to see you here. Anyway, they take pictures to the guy, Hishori Akamura. And he confirms that yes, it was Godzilla that attacked the boat. Well, the government doesn't want that information to get out, so they keep it secret. That is until Godzilla decides to attack a Soviet and destroy a Soviet nuclear sub. So yeah, kind of hard to let the hide that fact. Now the Russians think it was the Americans, of course. So that makes it like a diplomatic crisis. That's going to turn into nuclear war. And finally, Japan says yes, it was Godzilla. They meet with the Russians. The Japanese says, well, you're not going to nuke Godzilla if he was we're not going to use nuclear weapons on Godzilla if he attacks the mainland. Neither side between the Americans or the Russians are happy with that, because they just want to nuke Godzilla, which, if you think about it, is really, really dumb. But the Japanese Space Defense Force, I think it's Space Self-Defense Force, sorry. The JSDF goes on alert. They're the ones that have like the Tesla tanks and stuff like that. Anyway, so the Russians send a spy ship into Tokyo Harbor to watch, and it's got a launcher for a nuclear missile from one of their satellites, which at the time was a reference to Star Wars program that Reagan was pushing, and which ultimately led to the defeat of the Soviet Union, because we outspent them, and they were spending so much to combat this non-existent weapon system that we eventually developed parts of, because that's what does behind technology like the Iron Dome in Israel. That's stuff that came out of the research from SDI. So you get all sorts of facts here. Of course, it really helps since I just ramble a lot. You never know what's going to come out. So anyway, to go back, they've got the ship. The Russians there. Eventually, the Japanese find out about it. They confront him. He finally gives in to their demands not to use a nuclear weapon on the island, and disarms it. Godzilla shows up, heading for a nuclear power plant, and as he's going to attack, he's distracted by this flock of birds, and he starts following this flock of birds. So the scientists are specifically Hayashida. What's his full name? Dr. Hayashida. Okay, they don't give me a full name. Anyway, he notices this, and he thinks that he can come up with something to distract Godzilla. So he's going to build his plan is to build a transmitter that will lure Godzilla to a volcano and blow up the volcano while he's there. So while that's going on, while he's working on that, Godzilla actually shows up in Tokyo Bay. They've got the mass evacuation, state emergency, that whole 9 yards. The JSDF attacks with jet fighters, and the missiles do nothing, because this is Godzilla we're talking about. So but they're trying to on the basically Godzilla takes them out, and they're trying to launch. They're trying to stop the launch of the nuclear weapon, but he's killed off before he can stop it. Um, but so that means this missile's going to launch. Uh, so Godzilla goes into the heads into Tokyo, and as you know, like from my shirt, I Godzilla Tokyo. Um, he goes into Tokyo, but he's met by two things. They've got the hyper laser cannons, which are the big giant, uh, big giant, big. They're basically big giant lasers on a boom arm, and the Super X, which is their was a secret weapon that they created to defend Japan in case of emergency, even a nuclear attack. And it's got cadmium weapons, so uh, basically they shoot at Godzilla with these cadmium missiles and the cadmium shells, and Godzilla has a reaction to them. They actually hurt him, so uh, he goes and he's knocked unconscious, and so um, the missile gets launched, and America knocks it out of the sky, and it airbursts over Japan, which creates a radioactive storm, which technically should shut down. I don't remember if it actually shuts everything down with an EMP pulse, but it should. Um, but that wakes up Godzilla. Godzilla and the Super X fight, and then um, you know the Super X is damaged, but Dr. Hayashida gets uh, his transmitter installed on the island with the volcano, and it lures in Godzilla, and Godzilla turns and he goes to head for the island. He climbs up on the volcano. They detonate all the bombs around it, and Godzilla falls into the volcano, and that's there's no further information. That's basically where it ends. So yeah, I'm really gonna have to learn to time these better because either that or I need to start speeding them up. Let me see if I can speed this up. Sorry, I had a pop up. I had to. All right, that should go faster. But we're at the point. This is where they knocked him out with the cadmium missiles. I'm trying to remember. See, was this? They're evacuating. Obviously, they're going to the island to set up the transmitter. And of course, there's the Japanese Prime Minister, and and I've completely lost the thread. No. So that's yeah, there's the Super X. And Godzilla gets back up, fights the Super X. And as you can see, they're still using this, even though it's a refined design, it is still the guy in the rubber suit. Uh, they wouldn't get away from that for a while yet. Um, Not there's like I said before, not there's anything wrong with that. But yeah, so they're being rescued from the building. Godzilla's about to take out the Super X. And yeah, so but more details about this movie. Like I said, the in the American version, the Godzilla '85, um, Raymond Burr came back to play the reporter he played in the original Godzilla. And like I said, they just shot scenes for that. And so this was released in Japan in December of '84, and then in August of '85 it came to America, and worldwide several years, several in several countries, all the way up until '89 was the last release. But some of the things they changed. Like I said, they cut in shots of Raymond Burr. Oh, it's already over. That's what I get for not paying attention. So yeah, so that is the first of the Heisei era Godzilla movies. Next in the series, assuming I can open it up without breaking anything, is Godzilla vs. Biollante. Now, Godzilla vs. Biollante was directed by Kazuki Omori, who would go on to direct a couple of the Heisei era and write most of them. So he's really steeped in the Godzilla lore. Um, so and it was Tomiyuki Tanaka who is the executive producer behind this and the big driver. But Godzilla vs. Biollante picks up right after the second movie. Scientific team goes into Tokyo looking for any tissue samples of Godzilla. So after he's gone, they soon find, they look and they find tissue samples. They find chunks of skin and stuff. So they take it to a company called Biomajor, or no, company called Biomajors working at the same time getting samples as well. And they get in a fight with the JSDF because they've got mercenaries and stuff. So they eventually get the cells eventually head to a fictional country. It's taken to they're ambushed. They're killed off, and the cells are taken by this assassin back to a country called the Republic of Sardinia, which is an OPEC nation in the Middle East. Not really. It is in this it's a fictional nation. I think it's a fictional nation. I don't remember that in my. Yeah, it's a fictional country. I need to double check, make sure, before I get myself in trouble. So basically, they take it, and there's a geneticist and his daughter, and they work on they're trying to breed a plant that can live in the Sahara Desert. Um, but they want to do that so they can seed the Sahara with like wheat and stuff and become the biggest grain producer. Uh, but the lab is hit by the mercenaries from BioAgent, the U.S. company, and cells get destroyed. The geneticist, uh, his Erica, is his daughter is killed, so he goes back to Japan. Now there's a time jump, and it's 5 years later. It's '89. Everything's uh, the everything's been rebuilt and stuff, and uh, Shigami is back in Japan, and he uh, he's kept her. There's some keepsake roses that she has, and he's kept them alive and even spliced her DNA into it, which is they basically it turns out that there's psychic injury coming from the roses. Uh, the roses basically get infected with the Godzilla cells, and that's where we get Biollante. So Biollante is a giant mutant rose. And basically, what happens is those roses are experimented on, and they by a place called the Okuchi Foundation. Okauchi, Okauchi. I'm terrible at pronouncing Japanese names. Uh, Excuse me for a second while I get something to loosen up my throat a bit. Yeah, Rose by any other name. But basically, Godzilla comes back from the volcano. Hey, Tripping Orc, welcome. But Godzilla comes back from the volcano, and the they've got a new version of the X2 called the Super X2 that they're going to use to fight Godzilla with, and it also this one works underwater now, so they can chase him. Um, they've also got a way to deflect Godzilla's atomic breath back at him. They also have the anti-nuclear energy bacteria, which is supposed to break down nuclear energy. It's supposed to clean up nuclear waste. However, they they think it could be used against Godzilla, but they mix that with the Godzilla cells, and so they're thinking they can use it to make a poison to kill Godzilla. And so they get the all this stuff comes together to create Biollante, which we just saw a few seconds ago. Um, so basically, and they use this rocket with the bacteria. It does nothing to Godzilla. Um, so they think that because Godzilla's got is reptilian and has a low body temperature, that's why the bacteria didn't work. So they pull out they pull out this plan to get him into a microwave emitting a field of microwave emitting plates, and of course the maser cannons that have been around since the original Godzilla, that the JSDF always used to fight Godzilla with and never do anything. So basically, they do that. Um, it does nothing. Godzilla starts destroying the place. Well, Biollante shows up, and turns out that the bacteria that they infected Godzilla with reacts with the sap from Biollante, and it starts eating him up. So he starts suffering from it. Uh, Godzilla basically gets knocked out. Um, Biollante goes into spore mode to disappear and go back into space. Um, and Dr. Shiragami sees his daughter's face in the spores, so of course he freaks out. But so yeah, so basically the Godzilla's Godzilla is awakened by it because he falls after gets knocked out. He falls face through in the ocean, so he cools down. Bacteria stops affecting him. He wakes up. He goes away, and you see as Godzilla's swimming away, you see a giant rose that's floating above the earth that as a protector. So Biollante is the new protector. There's the spores attacking Godzilla. So Biollante is the Heisei era defender of the Earth from Godzilla, which I don't know. It's weird to have a plant as your big go-to giant monster to fight the bad guy. Well, a bad Godzilla. I'm not a fan of the bad. I mean, I'm not a fan. I just prefer the good aligned Godzilla to the bad aligned Godzilla, the one that's just a force of nature. And that's what I like so much about the 2014 Legendary reboot or reimagining. Well, I guess it would be technically a reboot because there's no original source. Anyway, Gary will say something if I'm wrong about that. But anyway, in the 2014 American reboot from Legendary, the they depict Godzilla as not as a force of nature, but he's there for a reason, and that's when we find out about the Titans. So, but I'll go into that probably. It looks like, yeah, all I'm going to do is get to 2 films, so this will stretch quite a bit unless I can speed it up. I'll speed it up next time. Sorry, I let the slideshow run slow. I didn't put it on double speed because when I make these, each slideshow is about 25 minutes long, so I thought I'd get 3 of them in an hour and a half, but but anyway, there's Godzilla leaving, and this is the end of the movie. So there's the rose that's floating above the earth to remind it's like a rainbow. It's to remind people that Biollante's there to save them. So, but that ends Godzilla versus Biollante. Now let's see. Okay, I'll have enough. I'll go into number three. I'll try and get four next time. The next movie is Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. Now you saw the TriStar. That's because this is taken from the ripped from an American produced release. Oh, thank you. I'll get this figured out probably about the time that I do my last show. That's because that's the way it always works out for me. But Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah came out in 1991. Was directed by Kazuki Amori again. Same guy that directed Godzilla vs. Biollante, because this is pretty much a sequel, a direct sequel. Only this time, now see, this is where it gets me. This is where I don't. They say it has no ties to the original, and yet there's a tie in this movie, and there's a tie in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 that prove that there was a previous Godzilla attack in the 20th century, because they basically go they go find the body of King Ghidorah in the ocean, and basically there's a UFO shows up, and to go back, there's a reporter. This is World War II. This reporter's covering a story of a dinosaur that got sighted in the Pacific War. No, I guess this is World War II. This is I'm getting confused. Anyway, it's not World War II. Let's start again. There was a sighting of a dinosaur, supposedly in the during World War II, that would eventually become Godzilla. They call it Godzillasaurus. Which this reporter, that right there, is going to eventually write a book, or that he will write in the future, because the aliens show up and they give it to him. But basically that they warn that Godzilla will reappear and destroy Japan for good. So they go back to several scientists and military personnel in Terasawa, the reporter, go back in time to 1944 to try and erase Godzilla from history, to save Godzilla from, or to save Japan from Godzilla. They basically find they watch and they see that Godzilla sort of takes out the Japanese and takes on the Americans, and Navy destroyer. Actually, I think it's a battleship. Anyway, the Navy ship takes out Godzillasaurus, hurts him, and so he runs off. So they basically take and teleport Godzilla to the Bering Sea, so it can't be hit with the atomic bomb test. Well, what they did was they have three. There's the Godzillasaurus there, but they brought with them three genetically created creatures that are made from the body of King Ghidorah that they call Dorats. They're these little cute, supposedly cute. I think they're ugly as hell, but um, yeah, but they're these three cute. So there's the Japanese. They salute Gorosaurus, thinking, he's gone, and these Futurians, they, like I said, they teleport him away, and so they basically take the Dorats and expose them to the nuclear test, so that it becomes the three-headed King Ghidorah we all know, and shows up in Japan to ravage Japan, because these futurists, they hate Japan. That's what the aliens or time travelers are called, the futurists. So they hate Japan, so they want to see it destroyed. Um, but one of the futurists, the young lady, she's not having any part of it, so she goes and uh, tells Terasawa what's going on. Meanwhile, they go look for the Godzillasaurus, because they think it's the only force that could take out Godzilla. Well, so there's this plan. They're gonna go find him. They're gonna nuke him. Gonna turn him into Godzilla. What they didn't know, because they have a psychic that can sense when Godzilla's moving around. What they don't know is that a Soviet submarine sank next to Godzilla in the Bering Sea and mutated Godzilla anyway. So it's like a fixed point in time. You can't get rid of Godzilla. He's just the force of nature. Nature's going to happen. Um, but they send they send this nuclear sub to go. That's what they go to find him, and Godzilla basically attacks the sub and drains it of all its nuclear power, and gets bigger, and his bacteria infection he's suffering with finally gets cured, because of taking out and absorbing the power um, the submarine. So basically, Godzilla shows up to destroy Japan, or he fights. Basically, the other two futurists send Ghidorah to fight Godzilla. Uh, Godzilla takes out the middle head, basically kicks his ass, which is all this amazing fight. And I like the new design of Ghidorah a little better than the original. They've really upped their games with these rubber suits in the Heisei era, but that's a scene where the reporter's sabotaging the futurist mothership to help Godzilla take out Ghidorah. Well, Godzilla bites off a head. I think he bites off a head. Either he rips it off or he bites it off. Basically, the middle head gets removed, and he sinks into the ocean. Um, so they go back to they go back to the android that's with them, the M11, and the girl. They go back to the shuttle to go get help, because Godzilla's going to destroy Japan now, and what they do is that sub was actually from the year 2204, which I forgot to mention. Sorry. Um, Basically, they had King Ghidorah or Ghidorah, and they turned him into a Mecha King Ghidorah, and they bring him back to fight Godzilla, and they basically fight to the death basically, and they go sink it. Both of them sink into the sea. Um, and then Emmy says goodbye to Terasawa, who turns out is a distant ancestor of hers. But like any good uh, Godzilla movie, at the end you see Godzilla wake up on the ocean floor and roar, and that's where it'll end. I know I got ahead, sorry. But yeah. Uh, so yeah, this is the third of the Heisei era Godzilla movies. It was released in December 14th, 1991 in Japan. Uh, it was released in the U.S. by TriStar Pictures. That's why it's got the TriStar logo. Because this, like I said, this is the American release. I haven't tracked down the actual Japanese releases for the Heisei era. They're harder to get than the original Showa. Well, the Showa era I ripped from, or that's from the Godzilla Showa era box set from the Criterion Collection, which is an amazing thing. And if you're a Godzilla fan, you should own it. And I own it, and it's packed away back in with all my other video. I'll pull it out one of these days, one of these shows. But yeah, so but I own the Blu-rays. It's packed away with all my other stuff. I've got tubs of DVDs and Blu-rays tucked under my bed, where I've got the physical media because I convert it to digital. I rip it from the Blu-ray and then keep it on my server because I have a big file server, and then I run my file server software, my media software from that. So, but anyway, so yeah, that's the end of the film. Wish I had the crap, went to sleep. Anyway, I wish I had the some of the video stuff queued up like we have on Pop Culture Minefield, but I don't yet. So, but I'll get to it eventually. I should probably pay more attention to what I'm doing over here than over there, because I mean, this is my channel. I am going to be simulcasting Wednesday, or tomorrow actually. Tomorrow and Friday, I'll be simulcasting my show from over there over here. So if you want to watch it over here, you can, and that way it'll be playing out there. Hopefully, we'll get more eyes on it. But yeah, like I said, I'm playing Cyberpunk 2077, the Phantom Liberty expansion, the DLC, and like I said, it's Escape from New York, so we're going to be doing Escape from New York joke, I'm sure. I haven't seen the thumbnail yet, but the thumbnails are always cool. Martine does an amazing job on those thumbnails. I get a chuckle out of every one of them. But so that's what I'm doing on Wednesday. On Thursday, I haven't heard from Keith yet about what we're doing on Thursday's show on Pop Culture Minefield. And yeah, I'm not on. I'm only on YouTube. I'm not the point where I can pay the extra for the restream to either restream to Twitch or Kick or one of the other, or Rumble yet. So either I do restream or I do that. I just use OBS. It's a lot easier for me. Obviously I don't have to pay anything extra. I just stream. But I do have a Twitch channel. I have occasionally been known to stream games over there. Usually it's Hearthstone, or um, it's either Hearthstone or World of Warcraft or something. But I think I'm kind of done with World of Warcraft, to be honest. I'm not sure I'm going to renew my subscription this time, because I mean, it's just, I've tried playing it. I'm like, I don't feel like doing the grind. It's just not fun for me anymore. And I started playing in 2004 in December. I got it for Christmas, and I played the heck out of it. I treated it as basically a second full-time job, because I got the max level, and I got in with a raiding guild, and I was full-time raiding. I was their mage. I was their food and water. That's not the only reason there. I was there for DPS, but that was my job. Is I had to empty all my bags in the bank, fill up my bags with food and water, hand out food and water for everybody, put my stuff back in the bags. So I got all, and I had to make potions too, because I was one of the alchemists. So I had to make uh, potions at the time. I eventually switched to engineering, so I didn't have to worry about that stuff. But yeah, so I'm not sure I'm going to go back to World of Warcraft. I might. I get where I miss it, and then I go play it, and then I realize why I stopped playing in the first place. And so yeah, it doesn't. Although Chris Metzen is back, and as much as I hate Chris Metzen, because I know he's going to force feed Thrall down our throats again, um, it was better under his watch. So we'll see what happens. This BlizzCon's coming up in November. Uh, we'll see what happens. But anyway, to go back to what I'm doing, Friday uh, is the game time stream again. Game day stream for me, and I'll be simulcasting over here. I'm doing continuing Baldur's Gate, which people seem to enjoy. And of course, my panel loves making fun of me when I play Baldur's Gate. Um, I'm actually going to get to the uh, get to some of the good stuff, and go through more, and get further along the storyline, and might actually get to the fight with the guy there. I forget his name off the top of my head. I do that. Um, I'm old. I forget stuff. But yeah, it's a lot of people either played it or didn't. It's not something. I mean, I played the original Warcraft, Orcs versus Humans, and I played Warcraft 2. So, I was that's how I got sucked into it. It was like, oh, this is from the same people. This is the same world. Oh yeah, I'll play it. And next thing I know, I've got like 800 and some odd days played. At this point, I literally put in 3 years, almost 3 years of my life into that game. So, of real time, not just I played it for 3 years. I don't think I'm a sage. I'm just a nerd that has a lot of knowledge and forgets a lot more than he remembers. But anyway, so yeah, that brings us to the end of the show. I'd like to thank everybody that was here today, because we had Anima Confusa stop by. We had Lady V Elements, who's always a delight to have in our audience. Tripping Orc was here, and of course my friend Martine, who's the rock which Pop Culture Minefield was built. So now next time, it'll probably be a little while. We'll pick up with the fourth movie in the series from 1992, Godzilla vs. Mothra. I'm going to go through the rest of the Godzilla movies. I'll try and do it faster, because I want to get through the remaining four, because there's still Godzilla vs. Mothra, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, and Godzilla vs. Destroya. And that'll take us out of the Heisei era. But I'm also going to go back, and I'm going to make sure the third episode, if I don't, third will include, if it's just like Godzilla versus Destroya, will include the 3 Mothra movies, uh, because they are part of the Heisei era. Uh, and they're made by Toho. Now they're standalone. They have nothing to do uh, with the Godzilla movies. In fact, they take place after the Godzilla movies. This is what Mothra is doing after the events of Godzilla vs. Destroya. They basically, it doesn't have any connection. I guess, yeah, it does. It says it doesn't have any connection. I thought it did, but uh, anyway, she'll go into space and stuff. And there's that, but there's Rebirth of Godzilla 1, 2, or Rebirth of Mothra got 1, 2, and 3, and I'll cover those at the end, because while they're not directly in the Godzilla timeline, they are about Mothra, who is a stalwart of the Godzilla lore. So we'll cover that. I might actually cover Godzilla Island and Godzilla Land. They were television shows that were in that were produced in the 90s. And I believe I've got several episodes of Godzilla Island. And I know I've got all of Godzilla Land. It's not always the best quality, because you get it where you can get it, because it was obviously never released in America. But yeah, and Godzilla Land is a children's television series, so I probably won't go into details about that, but I'll at least cover it. But that will be the end of the Heisei era, and then from there we'll go into Millennium series, which takes us from 99 to 2004. And 2004 was the end of Godzilla. Toho took a break until 10 years later, when they let Legendary make the Godzilla for the MonsterVerse and develop this whole MonsterVerse. So after I cover Millennia, I'll cover MonsterVerse. Then I'll cover what's going on now, which is the Reiwa era. Now the Reiwa era is kind of weird. There's Shin Godzilla, the 3 Godzilla anime, Godzilla Planet of the Monsters, City on the Edge of Battle, and the Planet Eater. And then there's Godzilla -1, which comes out in November in Japan, but December here. Of course, as soon as I got tickets on sale, I'm buying my ticket first show, because Godzilla released on the big screen. Hell yeah, I haven't seen that since I went to go see that stupid fake Godzilla movie in '98. That I was all excited it was going to be a Godzilla movie, and it's not. Sorry. But there's that also includes the anime TV series Godzilla Singular Point. There's some books, which I'm waiting for them to be introduced in the U.S. and translated. They haven't been yet. Somebody's working on them. But somebody's been working on them for 5 years now. There's Godzilla the Ride in Japan, and there's also was a Godzilla versus Evangelion motion ride at Universal Studios Japan. So Godzilla and Evangelion are actually technically in the same universe. No, Martine, no. No. I refuse to believe that. So anyway, I will end it here on that note with Godzilla, since Martine's bringing up Godzilla 98 again. I will see you guys next time. Now, next week, I'll plan on streaming. I'm probably going to go back to Starfield. I'm a lot further than I was, but I have yet to do any of the. I'm still in the. Haven't done any of the main quest line. I'm still doing side quests and building ships, and I've built stupid ships. And I admit I use mods. I use mods that will have more stuff than I'm supposed to on the ship, just so I can make really stupid ships. And so yeah, so I'm dealing. I'll be streaming that next time, I think. So, but for this is it for old Daswolfen in his den, and I will see you next time. And I really don't have a funny ending, so I'll just say bye, and you have a good week, and I'll see you next time.